Death is something that no one wants to talk about, and for all the fairest of reasons. First, it's a rather grim topic, especially when you're talking about your own potential death. Second, it can often bring up painful memories from people who are still trying to cope with the loss. Not to mention, people often wonder about what life would be like if a certain someone was still there with them. With celebrities, due to their fame, their deaths are far more public, and they often get more investigative measures to look into not only their passing, but what hidden details from their lives they might not have shared with the world at large. With that being said, allow us to show you some interesting pieces of information about famous celebrities that were discovered after they tragically passed. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 7. Heath Ledger. We're going to start and end this list with truly tragic stories, and we'll start that off with Heath Ledger. Ledger may not have been the biggest actor in all of Hollywood during his time, but he made an impact. He was dedicated to the roles he got, regardless if it was 10 Things I Hate About You or A Knight's Tale. He was someone you could depend on, plus many enjoyed looking at his handsome face. When he got the Brokeback Mountain role, people knew he was someone to take very seriously. Everything changed, though, when he got the role of the Joker in The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger was so committed to getting into the mind of the Joker that he locked himself away to get into the character's mindset and be the best version of the character on camera. He even noted in interviews beforehand that director Christopher Nolan gave him free rein to do whatever he wanted to try and bring things to life. However, that led to him going down a mental rabbit hole, which tragically resulted in his accidental overdose in 2008, just weeks before the movie was set to become the biggest thing ever in Hollywood. After his death, he was honored in various ways, including getting the Best Supporting Actor award at the Oscars. What also happened was that we got to see the Joker diary that he made that helped him become the on-screen terror that many still revere to this day. Sure enough, it was a dark and depressing thing, with many even liking it to the machinations of the Joker himself. That arguably is the greatest tragedy of all, because no one would have expected this from the guy who had done multiple romantic comedy films, and yet method actors like him walk a tightrope, and he sadly got tripped up on it. 6. John Candy. Even if you don't remember his name offhand, you know who John Candy is if you grew up in a certain generation of movies. He was one of the best comedians of his era, and him dying at the age of 43 was a blow to many. He was known for Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone, and more. He just had a way of making everything funnier, which is a lot rarer of a gift than you might think. Anyway, what might surprise you is that despite being one of the best of his generation, he never, ever appeared on Saturday Night Live. That is doubly odd when you consider that many of his contemporaries, like Steve Martin, were mainstays on the show. That brings us to his post-mortem fact. He actually was courted by the show. In fact, they saw in him what they saw in many talents and wanted desperately for him to be a part of the cast. Yet he turned them down, and for an incredibly pure reason. You see, back when he was invited to be part of it, SNL had a rather terrible reputation of its cast being partiers in the worst way. Candy, as noted by his own daughter, was the ultimate family man, and thus turned them down because he knew that if he did the show, he would put not only himself at risk, but his family, and that was something he refused to do. It's nice to know that people had such values even back then. 5. Audrey Hepburn. While there are many leading ladies of Hollywood in our world today, you could easily make the case that none of them compared to the golden era of Hollywood, where the women on screen weren't just beautiful, but they were talented in all the way that mattered. Audrey Hepburn proved this in various ways. She wasn't just an actress, but a model, a dancer, and so gosh dang talented that she won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and a Tony. Known in combination as an EGOT, can you name another person in this era that has done that? That's what we thought. Hepburn even took her popularity to charitable places and became a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. What a woman. So, what's the shocking fact about here? Oh, you know, just that she helped the Dutch resistance in World War II and did various acts to help both her local countrymen flee the Axis powers or get valuable intel to key sources. She even did dance nights that were banned by the regime so that she could raise money to help ferry people out of the area. Yeah, she was something, wasn't she? 4. Chadwick Boseman. We now go from a classic saint to a modern-day one. Chadwick Boseman, in every sense of the word, was a great man. Seriously, find one thing bad to say about him. We'll wait. Exactly. He wasn't just a great actor, he was one who knew that he had to pick the right roles and made every single one of them count. His most famous ones were arguably when he portrayed the greatest black men in history and fiction, such as Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, and of course T'Challa in the Black Panther movies. So when he died in 2020 due to colon cancer, the most immediate reaction from people was, he had cancer? He had known about the condition for years, but only told his closest friends and family. The reason that this was so shocking was that this meant he did incredibly physical training for Black Panther, all the while filming his solo movie, the Avengers films, and other films like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, all while dealing with the effects of cancer, and didn't show it. To be able to endure the pain he was undoubtedly in and then keep going is insane to think about, especially since some cancers truly leave people crippled and needing constant assistance. But not Chadwick Boseman. He kept fighting until the very end, and he is missed by many who loved his spirit, kindness, and desire to do good in the world. Rest in peace, O mighty King. 3. Mary Tyler Moore. Just in case you were thinking that we wouldn't be able to talk about a woman who had strength and will to burn, allow us to show you the one and only Mary Tyler Moore. From the 1960s and onward, she was one of the best women in the television world. She started off on the Dick Van Dyke Show, then got her own show and was prominent in the business for decades to come. In fact, she was 80 when she died, showing that she had lived a long and fulfilling life. No one can deny that. So, what was her incredible secret that she kept hidden from most? Oh, you know, that she was basically blind for decades. Apparently, in the 1980s, Moore started to lose her eyesight due to her being a type 1 diabetic. However, despite truly being almost blind for much of the back half of her life, she kept going and didn't tell anyone outside of her husband and close loved ones. Think about all the appearances she did and the awards she won in those last decades where she had to basically pretend that she could see all that was happening in front of her, but she couldn't see anything at all. Yet it wasn't in vain, as her condition led to the creation of the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative. 2. Christopher Lee. Many actors have a presence on screen that make them perfect for certain kinds of roles. For Christopher Lee, he was known as being the perfect bad guy. He was the man with the golden gun in James Bond, Count Dooku in Star Wars, Saruman in Lord of the Rings, and he was even arguably the most famous live-action version of Dracula. So what might surprise you is that this was a man who had a very unique life off-screen and had many different tastes. And no, we don't mean a taste for human blood. Instead, we're talking about how he was actually a heavy metal singer. Yes, really. Many didn't know this until after his death. He helped many bands with their tracks and even made his own concept albums. He doesn't look the type now, does he? But he apparently loved doing it. Another thing he was in his past was a spy, as in a legit spy, or more accurately, a British intelligence officer during World War II. While we don't know all about his undercover assignments, it was confirmed that this basically was his role. It was even noted during the behind-the-scenes of Lord of the Rings that Lee was instructing director Peter Jackson about what a person acted like when they were stabbed, including gasping for air after the impact. When the director asked how he knew that, he replied, "Because that's what I did when I was stabbed." Go figure. 1. Robin Williams. There are some actors that are so beloved by the world as a whole that when they die, you begin to question everything that's going on in life itself. In the case of Robin Williams, he had dominated both TV and movies during his career. He started as a stand-up comedian who did cameo roles in shows like Happy Days, before proving his star power in Mork and Mindy and going on to do other films and generally winning people over with his incredible charm, wit, impressions, and more. He was the genie of the lamp in Aladdin, Mrs. Doubtfire, and more. Yes, he did hit a career slump over the years, but that didn't stop him from trying things and getting people to laugh. Yet after his final Hollywood blow, which was billed as his big TV return, Robin Williams would soon take his own life in 2014, leaving many to wonder just how much we really knew about the man who seemed so unbreakable on camera. As many of you likely know from Williams' own words, he was far from unbreakable. He struggled with many issues, including depression, depression and alcoholism, but once he passed and his body was examined, it was then confirmed that he actually had a rare form of dementia, and that this may have been the true cause of the episode that led to his suicide. It's hard to picture, isn't it? That a man who was so good as making people laugh was so broken on the inside and couldn't make himself see the life that he still had ahead of him. Williams is still honored and remembered to this day, including by his daughter Zelda, but his story also serves as a reminder that just because someone appears happy before you doesn't mean that they're happy on the inside. And that's all from the lives of celebrities and what people learned about them or rediscovered about them after their passing. Which of these celebrity stories did you find the most shocking? Which ones would you like to learn more about? Or do you know of another post-death celebrity fact that we could have put in our video? Let us know below.